evening and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes. Former Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach Jeff Grass will be joining me momentarily. He had student conferences tonight, so he'll be coming in here in the next couple of minutes. But we have another big show on tap for the next 2 hours. Coming up a little bit later on in the program at 6:20, we'll have our coach guest for this week, the head boys basketball coach at Wausau West High School, Nate Lemm, coming off a nail-biting win in the first round of the playoffs last night against Eau Claire North, getting set for a regional semifinal at number 2 seeded Hudson on Friday. We'll talk about that and a whole bunch more with Nate Lemm coming up at 6:20. Then at 7:20, we'll have a second student-athlete guest from Merrill High School. Second team All-Wisconsin Valley Conference performer from the Merrill Blue Jay boys basketball team will be joined by Braden Pieper. And I said 2 student-athlete guests for this week because we are starting off the program with a big interview, as we are very happy to welcome to the program from Lakeland Union High School, the outstanding senior, Julianna Ouimette. And Julianna, first of all, thank you for spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to.
Absolutely, and I know it's been an incredible run during your high school basketball career, and I guess we'll start off with the breaking news in the last day or so. You've been named one of the 6 finalists for the Miss Wisconsin Award that goes to the top girls basketball player in the state of Wisconsin for a senior. I imagine that must be an incredible thrill.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was not expecting that at all. When I heard about it, I was so exciting.
Well, let's talk about the career, because you've been very much, I think, in the forefront of high school basketball here in north central Wisconsin for the last 4 years. As you look back at the 4 years that you've been participating at Lakeland with nearly 2,300 points and just, an incredible career you've had to battle, through injury as well. What stands out over the last 4 years? I imagine it goes by pretty quickly.
What stands out to me the most is, I don't know. I just know our team does the best when we've got the best chemistry, and our chemistry has been improving throughout all my 4 years. And we've been doing better and better, and these last 4 years have been so great. And I'm so sad that it's going to be done within the next 2 weeks at most.
Hopefully, you'll be able to maximize it through the next couple of weeks. As you've looked at yourself as a basketball player, you were so incredibly talented and so successful personally as a freshman and gone right through here as a senior. How has your game changed over the years? You put up big numbers each of your 4 years, but looking at your own game, how have you changed? How have you got better since you were a freshman?
I think I've gotten a lot better at shooting since I was a freshman. When I was a freshman, I did not want to shoot the ball other than a layup. That was a scary thought to me, and now I actually like shooting, so I've worked on that quite a bit. And I think now I'm better. I'm smarter with my shot. I don't try and force anything as much. And I try and if I see a few players pick me up, I'll look for the open player, for the open shot. And I just feel like I've gotten a lot smarter as a player and a lot just better at other things too. Just improved and gotten smarter.
And I imagine that, especially this year, you look at your squad, and it's definitely not a one-person team by any means. You've got your sister, obviously, who's put up huge numbers. You got Lily Fortier, who's done a terrific job. You got Sailor Timmerman, and that's just scratching the surface. I imagine that playing around a lot of good players helps your game, doesn't it?
Yes, it's been. I've been super fortunate this year because we have just had such a great group. I know. If all of a sudden, one of the wing girls picks me up, I've got Lily Fortier who's going to knock down the 3. Taylor Truman, super strong down low. She can get, any rebound she wants. Otherwise, she's open for layups. Same thing with Ava and Kale. Chrissy's knockdown shooter. It has just been so great playing with all of them this year. They're just all such great players.
Again, we're talking to Julianna Ouimette, the senior guard from the Lakeland Union Thunderbirds, here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Last season, you came so close to the state tournament, earning the big win in the sectional semis against an outstanding Mosinee team, for falling in the sectional final. Now going into another sectional this week. What do you take away from the experience last year where you had that great win against Mosinee and then the loss in the sectional final? Does that experience help you and your teammates going into this week?
I think one thing that hurt us last year was we gave that Mosinee game our all. It was a 1-point game. So then going into the next game, we were obviously a little tired. And this year, I think we're going to be, like, I'm hoping that our team can be, like, more fortunate in this game on Thursday. Like, if we keep playing it the way that we're playing, we're going to be able to, I think we'll be able to win this game. It'll be a good game, and then we'll be prepared for Saturday. Make sure we prepare the same way. Like, obviously, we had a lot of freshmen on our team last year, so having them already have, like, almost basically 2 years of experience under their belts now, that's also going to play a big role into, like being smart on the court and this and that. And I think the experience is really going to help us.
How about your schedule this year? You went through your conference campaign, really not threatened during the course of the season, but you did play a number of really good non-conference opponents. How important was it to have the opportunity to play against not only quality non-conference opponents, but bigger schools in terms of the divisional size, just to be ready for what you're going to see the rest of the way?
I think it was definitely helpful to be able to see some of the great players that are out there. Like, obviously, we played with Palm. They've got a girl named Kale Pearson on that team. She is super good. And it's also nice, obviously it's super nice to play these teams and get that experience, but it's also nice to know that, like, we were right there with Palm. Like, that was, like, a 2 to 4 point game the whole game. And, like, their state, they won state last year. Like, those are the teams that are making it to state. Like, the Aquinas, they go to state almost every year. Like, that was a super close game, too. The fact that, like, we can hang with these teams, I feel like also, like, plus the experience is also a big conference booster, saying, like, yeah, we belong here, you know? Like, we can hang with these teams. We're going to hold our own, and we're going to get to state this year. They're not in the same division as us, but they're still really great teams.
Do you feel like your team is peaking at the right time? So often I talk to coaches, and you want to be playing your best basketball, not in the month of January, but when you get towards the end of February and into March. And it looks like in your regionals, you were able to roll past East, and then on Saturday, a Merrill team that had beat Stevens Point recently, but you were able to roll past the Blue Jays as well. Does it feel like your team is peaking at the right time?
Yeah, it definitely does. I know in that Wausau East game on Friday, Christina, she hit 9 threes that game. Broke the school record for threes. Taylor Truman's been having really good games. Ava and Kale, they've been getting a lot of rebounds, going up the lamp. Lily's been knocking down a shot. I just feel like everybody's really, like, playing to their best potential right now. And if we can keep this up, we can make it. We can do it.
We're going to talk about your sectionals coming up in a few moments, but I wanted to step away from the basketball for just a moment and ask you about, obviously, you work so hard on your basketball and you still have your school responsibilities and everything else, but when you want to get away from it all, what do you like to do?
Whenever I need a break, I just, hey, Christy, you want to go do something? Christina's my best friend, like my younger sister. Anytime I need a break, I just go do something with Christina, and I've gotten really close with my team this year, too. So a lot of times, me and a few of them, like, let's say it's been a long week. Like, we've had a lot of practices this week, didn't have many games. Hey, let's go get breakfast this morning or tomorrow morning or something. Like, just little, like, breaks like that where I can just have fun, hang out with some people, and it's not, like, exhausting on your body. Those are kind of, they're really helping me get through this season. Obviously, this season has been my favorite. It's been so much fun. But, like, having those moments helps you rest, you know, and, like...
When you in school, what's your favorite class?
I really like science. I like sciences, yeah.
I imagine that's maybe one reason you decided to go to Lehigh in addition to the basketball. Obviously, when you went through a lot in terms of the college recruiting process before making the decision before your senior year. Before we actually ask you about the college, but how much easier has it been this year when you had that decision in the rearview mirror and to be able to focus just completely on finishing your high school career the way that you want to?
It has been very nice to not have to worry about anything else. And, like there's been, like, I know a lot of people get super busy their senior year, like, applying to this college and, like, applying for a scholarship here and a scholarship here. And, like, not having to do all of that has taken a lot off my plate and allowed me to focus more on just, like, my schooling and basketball, which has been super nice. And then it's also, like, not nerve-wracking, like, in games. Like, oh, like, the coach, like, my coach is coming to this game. Like, I need to make sure I play good. Like, obviously, I always want to play good. But, like, I'm not, like, my coaches at Lehigh, they're very supportive of me. Like, they'll watch a few of my games this year. They're always like, hey, great game. Like, I'm not, like, worried they're going to be sitting there like, oh, my gosh, like, you stunk. Like, we're not interested in you anymore. Right. Like, they're very supportive, and they're very, like, I'm very excited to go play this.
Again, we're talking to Julianna Ouimette from the Lakeland Thunderbirds here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Obviously, yes, you said it. You're very excited. Why Lehigh? Why in the end, when you had obviously many choices that you could have made, that you decided this was the place you wanted to spend your next 4 years?
So I didn't really know anything about Lehigh at first when they reached out to me. Like, I knew nothing about them at all. And they just, like, sent me a questionnaire. I filled it out. I was like, oh, whatever. Like, you know, I was talking to some other schools. I wasn't really interested. And then, like, after that, they were like, hey, would you want to try a Zoom meeting? And I went over that Zoom meeting, and I loved it so much. Like, I loved the coaches. I loved how they got along. I felt like I could really just connected with them right away. Like, they play this exact style of basketball I want. Like, they coach the kind of coaching that I love. Like, the basketball part of it was just perfect. Like, literally the perfect place I would like to play. And I also just loved, like, the team atmosphere, the coaches, and the academics there are really good too, which is super important because, like, I want it to set me up for my future, you know?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And when you look ahead, and obviously you have a little work to do in the next couple of weeks, but when you take that jump from high school basketball to Division I college basketball, what are the areas that you think that you have to improve on? Some of the biggest areas in order to crack the lineup and to be successful at the next level?
So I know definitely defense is going to be one of them. I feel like at that next level, everyone is going to be a very good, like, offensive player. Like, I'm definitely going to have to work on my defense more. I feel like I need to just get physically stronger. Like, I'm not that big of a person, but I just, like, getting stronger so that I can, like, hold my own even when I'm out there would be key. And then just working on everything, shooting, ball handling, everything that I can.
Let's look ahead. Obviously, it's a huge week. In some ways, being around it for as long as I've been around it, I think there's maybe a little more pressure in the sectionals than there is even at state, because it's all about trying to get down there to the state tournament. But you have to get through some really good competition every year in the sectionals. Coming up tomorrow night, you face New London and Antigo. What's the preparation been like for New London? What do you expect from that team tomorrow night?
So we know that they have a really good player in number 20, and we're prepared for her. We don't want to get any fouls on her, and, like, we don't want to, like, foul her when she tries to shoot. She likes to walk it down into the post a lot and then try to steal. So we've practiced, like, playing against that, and then we're not really sure what defense they're going to do, but we watched all the defenses that they, like, practiced or, like, that they've played in games, and we've got offenses we've prepared for, like, anything they might throw at us. And I honestly think, like, they can't really teams throw so many weird defenses at us, and we somehow, like, even if we don't really know what offense we're running, we somehow manage to just pass it around, find the open player, get a good shot. So, like I said before, like, if we just keep playing like how we've been playing, I think we'll be just fine.
And also have to ask, you've had the opportunity, and probably it's been probably a big privilege to play for your mom for 4 years. What's that experience been like? And obviously somebody that's been such a successful high school player in Wisconsin, then collegiately as well before becoming a coach. What's that experience been like?
It's been really nice. Obviously, because she's my mom, she's a bit harder on me than I think anyone else would. And it's really pushed me a lot. Like, me and her are both very stubborn people, so we tend to butt heads a bit. And that also just pushes me so much more than, because, it's my mom. Like, I have to, sort of thing. So she pushes me a lot, and she's a great coach. She knows so much about basketball. Obviously, she's played for years, and she spends so much time, like, looking up videos in basketball, looking up how to do this, or telling me, I should be better at this, I should work on this, I should work on this. And she said, like, she's always been a nerd, so now she's, like, a little basketball coach nerd, and she loves looking up all this stuff. And she's a great coach. She's helped our team with a lot. Anytime some team, like last year, our first team started throwing in triangle and twos, we weren't sure what to do. They would watch video after video until they found some really good offenses, and now they can't run those anymore. And, I mean, they can't, like, stop us with those anymore. So that was really, really big.
And finally, as you head down the final stretch in terms of your high school basketball career, something we like to ask our student athlete guests each and every week is, when you have a chance to talk to somebody that's just entering the program, somebody that may be a freshman, that is just starting their journey at Lakeland and starting their basketball journey, what piece of advice would you give to somebody who's just starting based on what you've learned over the last 4 years?
Okay, so I'm, like, a big motivational quote person. Like, I love motivational quotes. And, like, I feel like 99% of sports is like a mind game. Like the things that I give them is like you can do anything that you put your mind to. Like if you think that you're tired, you tell yourself you're not. Like, like your mind is the limit sort of thing. And then also, like, if you work hard, like, it doesn't matter who's better. It matters who works the hardest. Like, that's what it really comes down to in a lot of games. Yeah, if a team is knocking down 3 after 3, that's going to be hard to stop. But if you guys are getting out there on every single one, contesting them and getting every rebound, you're going to win that game. It all comes down to how hard you want to work and how bad you want it. So I feel like the best advice I could give anybody.
Sounds very, very good. Well, Julianna, again, congratulations on all the success you've had during the course of your high school career. Best of luck in the sectionals and hopefully a state tournament and then at Lehigh as well. And thanks again for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's Julianna Ouimette from Lakeland Union High School. Again, one of the finalists for the Miss Wisconsin Award, Miss Wisconsin basketball, going to the top senior in the state of Wisconsin. We're going to take a break and then come back, and we'll have our coach guest for this week from Wausau West, Nate Lemm. He's coming up next. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Again, thanks to Julianna Ouimette from Lakeland Union High School for joining us. Kicking off the show. A little different tonight. Not only was we kicking off the show with the student athlete, Jeff Gress decides he's just going to stroll in 20 minutes late.
I was battling the weather, and there's conferences.
Battling the weather.
Hey,
that's not like an excuse to me.
You were doing good by yourself. If you really said you were the friend you were, you would have left me the last question. Let me kind of roll in here and get one off. But,
yeah. It's like I kept waiting and waiting.
I'm here.
But glad you're here. Again, later on in the program, we'll be talking about the boys and girls basketball playoffs, look at the brackets, talk about the state hockey tournament coming up, and also have Braden Pieper from Merrill High School joining us at 7:20. But very happy to welcome our coach guest for this week. I talk to him once in a while from Wausau West High School, Nate Lemm. Coach, thanks for coming on over.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And first of all, before we start, I got to tell people out there that, I've been doing what I do for a long time. And one of the best parts of the work is when you get a chance. When Gress was coaching at Newman, loved talking to him. I love talking to you. I mean, it's great when you have a good relationship and have guys that you really, really enjoy being around. And I just want to say I appreciate everything that you've done. Well, how many years is it? 10 years now?
Yeah, it's 10.
I mean, isn't that it's insane how quickly that does fly by, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy to think about. And we were actually just talking about year one and that trip to Hudson, and we're heading back.
I know. So it's all a big circle.
A big circle.
Let's talk about the season. And obviously, you had the start where you won 2 of the first 3, and then had a stretch where you had chances to win basketball games, couldn't finish the job. I think it was like 8 losses in a row. In a situation like that, it's so easy to let things really slip away. But after that, your team has played really pretty solid basketball, moved up in the conference, finished off pretty well in the last, month and a half. How did you guys try to get through that? Because, again, for young guys, it's not easy to go through a long stretch where you aren't winning basketball games.
Yeah, early, I think we just didn't shoot the ball well. I mean, when we came into the season, we felt like that was one thing that we were going to be able to do well, and when you don't do that, we just were in a lot of close games and a lot of low scoring games, and defensively, I don't know if we were there yet to be able to. And then now a lot of new players, so some of those close games we didn't finish, the right way, and we just kind of, I guess, collapsed at the end in some of those games. But give credit to the kids because they stuck with it. We lose that stretch of games that you were talking about, and then we come back and win a big one at East. And even the stretch of games that when we were, we had that losing stretch, I didn't think we were playing bad.
Right.
We just and again, you saw it last night. We have stretches.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the team we are. But defensively, this team has surprised me. I mean, we've really been able to lock down, and we've really been able to guard teams that everybody's bigger than us. Everybody's more athletic than us, but we've really been able to just be a tougher team than I envisioned us being, and so that was a positive. And then we've just played a lot of competitive games. We haven't come out on the right end on a few of them, but we have been there with a lot of good teams, and we feel good every night going out there. And so our kids know that each night we got a chance, and I think that that's credit to them and them just continuing to compete.
And Coach, watching you guys, on a handful of games I get to see of you, I think one of the staples, what you're talking about is your savvy defense. You guys are always, you're hanging around people, you're always on them, it's physical, you're going to get tossed around a lot. When you play it, no matter whether you're the bigger team, the more physically strong team, whatever it is, you're going to come at people defensively. What does it take to set that mindset? I mean, because that's to me, that just watching, like I said, the handful of games I get to see you guys play year in and year out, that's always seems to be a staple, is that we're going to make it really difficult for you on the court for as long as we can.
By the way, he watches games when you play relatives of his, so that's
yeah. Well, hey, I know all about what side he's on.
Well, I'll also give you want a little trivia. You guys were talking 10 years. You know what came to my mind 10 years?
Yeah.
I don't remember which group I was playing with, but it was 10 years, and I just remember thinking, I was mad at our loss, and then all of a sudden the radio announcer goes, "We'd like to congratulate Coach Lemons on the first varsity win here."
Oh my God, was that you?
Yeah, it was us.
Oh my God!
I guess somebody we missed the last shot, or you hit a shot, or something was tight. But
yeah,
there's a little trivia. Yes. 10 years ago.
I hope you didn't forget the question now that I jumped in on it.
No, I think when we got here 10 years ago, obviously we weren't in a great place. So I think the mindset was, okay, what's going to keep us? What's going to allow us to build this program where we wanted to get to? And we had. And defense was already something that Coach Brewink had preached, and they were a good defensive team. And so we've continued to build on that because the first few years and then after the first couple of years, we had Taylor and we had some kids that could do some things, but we knew there was a gap there. We knew there was going to be a 3 or 4 year gap there when we got the job, and so we just thought we're going to have to play with a toughness and a defensive mindset to allow us to continue to be competitive as this thing builds. And the great thing about this year's team is this is the most I've ever, I guess, muddied the water defensively. We've played box and one, we've face guarded people, and our kids' ability to do those things and really grind and rotate and just understand and play and just kind of hold their ground has been a pleasant surprise for me. And then obviously we feel good, where we're headed talent-wise. We know we got talented kids coming up. We've got talent on this team of kids that can make plays, and we've seen our ability offensively when we're all connected. But ultimately, I think it was just something that we said we have to be we have to be good at this, and our kids know that that's something it's a non-negotiable. We're gonna be a tough, hard-nosed team, and we're gonna defend people.
Again, we're talking to Wausau West boys basketball coach Nate Lemm here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio. Let's talk about your guys and something that you've said pretty much all season long. Right from the very beginning about you like being around these guys. That I think goes a long way in towards the enjoyment of the job. I mean, in terms of trying to get across what you want to accomplish during the course of a season. Could you talk, number one, about what makes this group a good group to be around, and then maybe talk about a few of the guys that you look at as leaders on your squad?
Yeah, and just to kind of the 10-year reunion thing, we've had great kids here. I mean, in my 10 years here, the kids that I've been able to coach, it's been fantastic. We haven't always had great years, but the kids have been tremendous, and all the kids that come back, and you get to see them, and so that's a compliment just to all the kids that have played. They've just been phenomenal and bought in, and it's been great. But this year, I think our group, it's a fun group. They're a real kind of, I don't think goofy is the right word, but they're a joking group, and they have fun, and they really can have a good time and joke around, and so that's always nice when you have kids that are loose and like to joke around and things like that. So off the court, it's fun. They rib at each other, and a lot of guys have nicknames. So that makes it fun because then you're building relationships outside of the court too. And each summer we do our little shack retreat, and so you get to know those guys and you get to see how they interact with each other. And the guys are they're a close-knit group. They go and do stuff after games, whether it's Culvers or what is it called, half-apps or whatever they do. And and they're just a funny group. We got some kids that are there's certain kids that just tell a lot of funny jokes or they pick on or whatever, and it's just a laid back group. But then what the best part about it is they're able to do that, and then when the game is on, they're able to flip that switch, and they compete. The one thing about this team, and we talked about it as a team, is they compete. Like I have not had to say, man, you know what, we just don't compete. Sometimes we don't play maybe the way we want to play, but we compete, and these kids, they compete, and ultimately that's the number one thing that we can control, and those guys have done a really nice job doing that. And so a couple of guys, just obviously Cole and Beckett are captains for us, and they do so much. Obviously Cole, Eau Claire tried to box and won him last night. When he stays patient and when he allows just himself to be a playmaker and the game to come to him, he can fill it up in a hurry, and he can really be a playmaker for us. Beckett has kind of moved out of position. We don't have a point guard. And so he makes good decisions with the ball. He's a smart, high basketball IQ kid. So he's kind of played out of position, and you've never heard anything, coach, I'm not getting my shots, So he's a really good standstill shooter. So we'd love to move him off the ball, but he's had to play point guard for us, and he's done a tremendous job. And then, Vinny and Ethan Steinbach are the other two seniors, and Vinny obviously has played a very physical role for us. Him and Jackson are about our only size as far as when you want to start stretching and saying if we got anyone over 6'2". So he's had to bang and
was that his first three-pointer last night?
It was, he actually he's a good 3-point shooter. He's struggled this year with it, and obviously he's been asked to just be physical and screen bodies and do all the dirty work. And then Ethan's just been a great kid. He's a tremendous kid. He's a great teammate, and he comes to practice every day ready to go. And we got 4 great seniors, and then obviously Brett defensively has had to take on a huge role. He's guarding guys bigger. He's usually guarding the best player, and then he has to contribute offensively for us too. So he's really done a nice job, and he's logged a lot of minutes. We've kind of shortened our rotation here as the years gone on, and some days he's playing 35 minutes, and that's with running around and chasing somebody, and then, hey, Brett, you got to score too. So and then we got a lot of good young kids that we're excited about. Griffin obviously starts for us, and he's he's like an old man out there.
He's a fun guy,
and you can coach him hard, and I coach him hard. Sometimes maybe get on him a little bit too much and forget that he's a sophomore, but he's a basketball junkie, and Marcus McDonald is really coming along for us, and Lucas Hager can really fill it up. So we got a lot of kids that are young. We got a lot of kids that are really starting to grow and play a lot of basketball that we're excited about.
Have you seen a lot of, you were talking earlier about having to muddy up some of the defenses you played, and I just thinking back to this season a little bit, that it seems like this year there's been a lot of teams doing, they throw the boxing ones, all of a sudden they're playing different zones that are out of. So have you seen that a lot, where teams are adding a lot of more elements other than just having one side, your solid man and your solid zone? Have you seen that a lot in the transition basketball this year?
Well, I've just seen the ability to play off of certain guys. I've seen the ability where teams, you just go, you know what, percentagely, I don't know if I got to guard that kid. And I think you're seeing that more with, you get these kids that are so talented, Marcus Hall. I mean, we can't guard him man to man. I mean, we just, the second time around, we just tried to face guard him a little bit, and we did okay, but that wore us down. And then when he gets it, he's so smart, and his willingness to pass the ball. It's easy to face guard and box and one a kid that just says, I got to score. He doesn't do that. And so that makes it really hard. And then you got like the Hinson kid and the Lemoyne kid at Marshfield. We struggle to guard those types of kids because we're not overly athletic. We're not, this physically strong team. So I think you're seeing you're seeing teams that are saying, we got no other option, and then you're just trying to say, all right, you three have to beat us, and statistically, we got a chance, because what it's showing, and then you put a role on that kid that he's not used to. Marcus ain't passing you the ball now. You're not getting a catch and shoot from Marcus Hall or Chase Hinson. Not Chase, that's his brother. Brooks Hinson. Yeah. Jeez. So
you definitely have been around now. When you have the other.
Yeah. So I think you are seeing that a little bit, and it's probably kudos to some of the individual talent that's around there. I know that's what we've had to do. We've had to say, look, okay, these two can't get. We got to hold them to 20. They can get 10 and 10 or 12 and 8, but they can't go for 40. They can't get 20 and 20. And so I think there is a little bit of a trend to that.
Again, we're talking to Nate Lemm, the Wausau West boys basketball coach here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. We'll talk about the playoffs, but in that last answer when you were talking about about the team and the program itself, because there's so much more than the varsity program. It's about having the numbers up and down the program and going all the way down into the lower levels. When we had Cole Nelson on the program, and I asked him, when did you start playing basketball? And he talked about going to one of your youth camps back when he was, I don't know how old he was, but quite a few years ago. It shows again where these relationships develop, because part of the job is to make sure that you have kids in the program. You can't be successful if you only have a varsity program and then really nothing else. Could you talk about the whole idea of what you try to do in terms of building the program, getting the numbers up? Because that's one area that, you got to feel pretty good about now and the future because of the number of kids that you have within your program.
Yeah, and I think you look at it, and my son's here now, and, Cole is someone that's what the youth is about. So he goes home and he's Cole Nelson in our basement. Right. Or whoever, or I wake up and I got a what are those picture heads, those big bobblehead things? I got those in my living room with the seniors, so I got to stare at them all the time.
That sounds a little scary to me.
Yeah, whatever they had for senior night.
Right.
We apparently collected a couple of them. But so I think it's really important to that ultimately determines what your high school team is going to be. Is can you get the investment
if you
in the
have
youth?
a chance? That's the minimum baseline, isn't it?
Yeah, and 10 years ago that was the first thing we said is, holy man, we've got to dump some serious time into this. We've got to get kids at Wausau West that say, I want to play basketball. And Jeff was part of it. And ultimately it's not me. It takes youth coaches. Having guys like, I had Jeff on, I don't know, 2-3 years. Guys like John Ronaldo, Kurt Richards, our 8th grade coach, he's come through the whole way. Matt Johnson. I got my 4th grade coaches, Sam Tyler. I can name them all. And all those guys play an integral part in developing them, because ultimately, yeah, we structure it, but then those guys are at practice, and they have to develop those kids for us, and our camps are great, and those high school kids play such a key role in being role models to say, I want to be that kid someday. So just keeping our youth around those kids, and getting our youth to love the game. And we talk to our high school guys about, in this day and age, you see Twitter and social media and stuff, and it's like, oh, hey, I want to get a scholar. You just have to fall in love with the game, and then you're going to do the things that are required in order for you to get good at the game of basketball. But you got to love it first. If you start just chasing it because you say, well, I want to go play for Duke. Well, okay, that's great. Do you love the game enough to do what's required to take those next steps? And I think sometimes we forget about that. We get so focused on I got to chase this. No, you just got to love the game, and then ultimately you're going to develop into the player that you can become. And I think that's important.
You think going back to that 10-year thing, you think anything's gotten a lot harder? You're listing all the things that I think sometimes people forget that element from the top down, how much time has to be invested. I've got to have my youth programs ready. We've got to make sure those kids get opportunities for practice times and game times. I've got to make sure our high school varsity schedule is structured the way I need it to be for non-conference games versus what we're going to see in all the film time. It's like the teacher that thinks after 1 year this is going to keep getting easier, and you do 20 years, it's still just as hard because you're just as invested in. Do you think anything Does anything change from year 1 to year 10 right now?
Oh, absolutely. Even just just the apps and the ways to communicate and all the different platforms and all the things that kids are involved in now, trying to schedule around it, facilities, it only gets harder. Needs, I mean, student or player needs, parent needs. Uniforms were like, you have years where inventory and things like that. So it requires so much, and it's only getting. I think more complicated is the word, because it's all simple. It is. It really is. It's simple. Kids should go and they should be able to play, but it's never that simple. You gotta have this and that, and tournament leagues and league schedules and different tournaments form or different leagues form, and you're trying to, challenge your kids. So you're trying to find a different demographic to play. You're always trying to. It feels like you're always trying to improve, when ultimately it's a simple game. Kids just have to develop. So I think, it does. And you feel that pressure to improve, like, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make this better? And sometimes I think you just have to say, you know what? I think simple is better. And we talk to our team about that. Because I think sometimes we as a team, we're talented enough that, and we talked about it at halftime last night, if we just keep it simple, our abilities will just allow us to do things on especially on the offensive end. And when we try to do things or try to get off script, that's when we see the turnovers and the things happen. So to answer your question, I think it's gotten. I think that's why you're seeing some of the turnover, is because if coaches just get overwhelmed with some of that stuff.
Hudson, obviously a very good Big Rivers Conference squad, number 2 in the bracket. What have you found out? Obviously, you won last night, so that's time to look ahead to Hudson. What do you expect on Friday?
Well, they're going to be physical. They're athletic and physical, and they defend at what I would consider a pretty high level. So that'll be a good test for us. And then on the defensive end for us, being able to contain them as far as their physicality. They're gonna. I would think that they're gonna throw it in and try to take advantage of us inside. Which for us, we've faced that and battled that all year. So I feel that we'll be able to muddy the waters there a little bit and try to just bring as much help and then try to rotate and contest the 3-point line as best as possible. But we'll have to contain them and not allow them to get downhill and in the paint. If we can keep them to more of a perimeter team, then I think we can do some things defensively. And then offensively, if we can rebound the basketball and allow ourselves to get out and get our offense going and knock down some shots, because no matter what, we have to make shots. We're just not a team built to say, you know what, we're going to throw it in there or we're going to get this many paint touches. We have to make shots. So I think if we can move the ball and share the ball and penetrate enough to allow ourselves to get some, feet set jump shots and get good looks at the rim, we got guys that can knock them down. Then I think we'll be all right, and we'll be right there. And I know our kids will compete.
Well, I was just going to ask the last thing. Does it ever get any, because again, the message, one of the things that's made clear in just your conversation is the big deal about getting to see these kids and getting to see them grow and getting to see who they are. I told, I coached 6th grade boys the other day, but I told them no matter whether it was varsity or 6th grade, I hate the end of the season. I hate when you get down to that final moment and you're logging less time. Is it any easier as these seniors continue to play? You continue to say keep fighting.
No, honestly,
only
I think
so much time left.
I think it's, and I think I'm understanding your question. I think it's harder, because like you talk about Cole and Beckett. Some of these kids I've known since since 1st, 2nd grade. So now you're hugging them at the end of the year, and you've got a 10-year relationship with those kids. Where your first couple of years, you love those kids and you knew them, but you didn't know them like these kids. I mean, you just and we make it a point to be very involved in our youth program and to be there and to learn about these kids and to try to see these kids see us there, so that they know that we care. Mm-hmm. So when you're involved like that, and now those kids are starting to move on, I think it makes it even harder, because now it's a true relationship that you've developed over 10 years, and that just makes it really hard, because those kids now have have been in the program, and you've just watched them change and grow as young men. So it gets to be a really bittersweet moment.
And I guess one final question is, your son is right here, and I saw him, got the work in the basketball. How exciting is it to have kids who are following in terms of what you love, and they can see the love that's there as well?
Well, yeah, and he he's
moving now.
Yeah, I think for him, it's one of those things where he's around it, and so he gets to see and experience the things like, last night he didn't have a voice because he's yelling, and he gets to be a part of it. So if that's the fun piece for him, is he gets to see the behind the scenes stuff, and the players are so good with him and my other little guy who's sick at home. But I think for me as a coach, it just gives me perspective. It's him. It's his. If he wants to play basketball, that's his choice. And if he wants to be good at basketball or good at whatever he does, that's his choice too. And I coach him, but I just try to maintain that perspective. And it's nice for me to be able to step away and just be dad and watch.
Sure.
It's hard sometimes because you want to go out there and strangle the right way. But it's been fun. Now, him and his brother both are involved with sports, and I think that's so important. No matter what sport it is that they play, just watching them with their friends, and friends come over and they're playing, so it gets to be fun. And obviously at the Optimist, I got to see Jeff and his boy Matthew, who again was in our youth program. So it's great to see. It's great to see Matthew, and then I get to see him and tease him, and that's a kid that's come to camp, and you've developed a little relationship with him. So it's fun seeing those kids grow up and just kind of watch them continue to progress as basketball players, but also as just kids. They get older, and it's just fun to watch.
We will look forward to. I always appreciate you giving me a ride on these long trips. We'll go to Hudson on Friday night. We'll have the game right here, 6:40 airtime. And again, Coach, it's been 10 years. Wow. Yeah. It's been a pleasure for 10, and we'll keep going, and hopefully for a few more weeks this year.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you do. Again, we'll talk on Friday, but I admire the way that you cover sports, and the way that even when things are going bad, you can continue to find a way to make it about the kids and to make it about what high school sports means. And that's not as easy to do, and there's people in this community on radio that don't do it that way. So you should be very proud of that, and you do a very good job with that, Chad, and we're thankful to have you.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate your guys. They're always fun to be around, and thank you. I hate compliments, but thank you.
And Jeff, I like him too. We miss him as our youth coach, but we're appreciative of what he did for us.
Thanks, Nate. Nate Lemm is the head coach of the Wausau West Warriors. We're going to take a break, come back, and have more. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio 98.9. And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Holy cow. 2 interviews, and we still have one more to go. We're rolling here as we head down the home stretch. In fact, after tonight, only 3 more shows to go for the season.
Yeah, it goes by fast, but it's again, you got to love the the player and coach perspectives that you get of kind of some of the insights of their play. It's well said, well spoken. Both Julianna Ouimette and Coach Lemons gave us some great insight on what their programs are like.
And we'll get more from Braden Pieper from the Merrill Blue Jays, who today the Wisconsin Valley Conference announced their all-conference teams. Braden Pieper on the second team as Merrill, and they got off to a winning start last night in the playoffs as well. They knocked off Antigo, and they get a crack in the same round against Mosinee, just like last year. And we'll talk to Braden Pieper about that coming up at 7:20. Tomorrow, I am heading bright and early down to Madison as we have some high school hockey. The state tournament gets underway, and we will have a Division II semifinal tomorrow as the Mosinee Indians, who were a number 2 seed, and they knocked off Lakeland 2-1 in the sectional final last Saturday, and they will be taking on Oregon. And Oregon comes in as the number 3 seed, Mosinee number 2. Oregon, they had a big upset. They knocked off the 2-time defending state champ, Fond du Lac St. Mary Springs, 1-0 last Saturday. So Mosinee and Oregon, 12 noon for the pregame, 12:15 for the opening faceoff right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. And the thing I'm really looking forward, number one, for the game, of course, but it's at a new venue. And when there's something is new with a state tournament, it's going to be very interesting to see what works, what doesn't work. But I think there's a lot of excitement because I think folks were more than ready to get out of the Dane County Coliseum and going to Bob Studer's Capitol Ice Arena, a much smaller venue, but the potential to have, I think, more energy in the building. It's going to be a very interesting weekend, I think.
Well, I know that's one of the things that, we've talked about in the past. Again, with my limited knowledge of hockey, is just to have a better.
How many years is it going to take for you to say you're a hockey expert? Huh?
It's never going to happen. Probably. I apologize to the hockey people. Sorry, but it's probably not going to happen. Anyways, but just to get a better atmosphere just of the venue that it was going to be at, I think was a big deal, and it'll be and I think still at the same time it's a state tournament. That atmosphere kind of creates itself, so to speak, just because what's at stake for those high school athletes to create, try to live with no regrets and at the same time make those memories that can last a lifetime.
A winner of Mosinee against Oregon will advance to the state championship game on Saturday morning, bright and early at 9:30 in the morning, against either top-seeded New Richmond or number 4-seeded Menominee. And Menominee is one of the interesting stories. They're well under 500, but they played in a very good conference, the Big Rivers. Like New Richmond, those are two D2 teams that play in a conference with a lot of quality D1 teams like Hudson and Eau Claire Memorial, Eau Claire North. It shows that if you're able to keep it together, realize that, hey, we're playing really competition that is a division above us, that you can make something happen in the postseason. So for Menominee, very interesting. Unfortunately for them, they face a conference foe in New Richmond, who is the conference champions, and they lost to them twice during the course of the season. But that's one of the interesting things. Once in a while, we see that in basketball. I think we're going to see it more in Division II in hockey, and we see it in basketball in certain situations as well. When you almost made the state tournament, you played in a league with a bunch of schools that were D4 teams as opposed to D5 teams. You made it to a sectional final. There is that potential where sometimes the records are deceiving.
Well, right, you're exactly. I mean, you take just for basketball, Green Bay New Lutheran's a great example over in their conference. They're D5 playing against D3, D4 teams all year long. It makes a difference if you can get your players to understand. Yeah, we might take some lumps, but we're going to come battle test, and we get to roll playoffs and get to go against schools our own size and teams that haven't necessarily played in as strong a conference or as strong a competition within that conference. It really can set the tone for the toughness of your team. It can set the tone for how your team handles a lot of adversity that can come up in these crucial games that get a lot closer as you get closer to the state tournament.
The boys' Division I hockey field is full of powerhouses. You got Notre Dame, who's undefeated. They have been just incredibly successful this season. Barely made it, though. They needed overtime in the sectional final, defeating Bayport 3-2. They will take on University School of Milwaukee, and they are back at state for a 5th year in a row, 16th time overall, won 3 state titles, a couple of the private school powerhouses going up in a semifinal, then a couple of powerhouses on the public side in the other semifinal, as Verona is a number 2 seed, and number 3 is the 2-time defending state champion Hudson. I just find that interesting because there's still so much talk about that. I mean, whether it's basketball, whether it's hockey, and you have a situation where you're going to have a private versus a public in the state championship game on Saturday.
Yeah, and that makes it.
I really cringe at some of the conversations, just to put it out there.
Yeah, what side of the fence? If you're a Catholic school supporter, if you're a public school supporter, whatever, what school you're supporting makes it difficult to kind of puts which side you're on. Even though it's really about, I know there's arguments all over the place on the different sides of people going out recruiting, pulling kids in, things like that. It's about those players that have worked hard enough to get there, and there shouldn't be a label or a stigma no matter what school you're from. They're placed in a division based on the population of their school, and the kids go there. And as in basketball, they say you shoot on a 10-foot rim and you lace up the same type of shoes, and same thing, you put the skites on and you're trying to hit in the same goals. Yep. So it's not it shouldn't be a topic of conversation. It should be about what those kids have been able to accomplish to get there.
And again, we will be, I'm looking forward to being down in Madison tomorrow. 12 noon airtime, Mosinee against Oregon, Division II state semifinal, right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Coming up in the next hour, we will talk about the brackets, both boys and girls basketball. The playoffs are underway, and sectionals coming up on the girls' side. Plus, we'll be joined by Braden Pieper from Merrill coming up at 7:20. More to come in just a moment here on Bull Falls Radio 98.9. It's hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and the Civic Media app. If you have not got the Civic Media app yet, go to your app store, download it. You can get Bull Falls Radio, get podcasts of this show and our sports broadcasts and a whole bunch more. Just get that Civic Media app. With Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes. Again, coming up in hour number 2 in about 20 minutes or so, we'll be joined by Braden Pieper from the Merrill Blue Jays, high school boys basketball, second team, all Wisconsin Valley Conference. Talk about a big matchup for the Blue Jays coming up on Friday at Mosinee in a Division II regional semifinal. Before we start talking about the brackets, the boys basketball just started in terms of their postseason last night, so we had the regular season coming to an end. And in fact, I was saying in our break that unusual because of that storm we had recently, that Mosinee actually played Lakeland last night in Minocqua in a regular season game while all the other playoff games are going on. But before we turn to the playoffs, any thoughts on how things finished up with some of our area teams and conferences in the regular season on the boys' side?
Well, I guess just looking at the Valley, a handful of games that were left for that last regular season game, you look, Marshfield being the top of that conference beat Merrill, Everest beat Rapids. So that some of the teams that were higher up in the top of the conference won that final game to put them in those spots and continue. I mean, West went out and challenged themselves, I thought, last Friday against Medford. That's never an easy team to play against.
And it was actually an interesting game. I was really wanting to do it, but it was postponed from Thursday to Friday, and I had girls basketball playoffs on Friday. But talking to folks and talking to the coach last night, it was actually a 6-point game late, and then all of a sudden, Medford, and he said that Logan Baumgartner was just, he just decided he was going to take over, and he took over, and he was more than a handful, and what a year that young man has had. But West actually did play very competitively until late in the second half before it went from a 6-point game to about a 20-plus point loss.
Right, yeah, and it's just, but again, I think it says something of the teams you schedule in your non-conference as best you can to get those fights and those work.
And again, as I jump in on you, he did say last night that it's a great way to go into the playoffs. I mean, to play a team like Medford on the road last week gets them ready for a game at Hudson on Friday.
Definitely, I think it makes you. It's the type of caliber you want to see if you want to travel somewhere in the playoffs. Did you still want to jump to different conferences here?
I mean, any thoughts you have just on the finish up here of the final days of the regular season in these leagues? Any thoughts you have?
Well, interesting again, parallel to the Valley, looking over at the Merriwood South for the boys. A lot of the top teams went and won that final game. So, I mean, Marathon, a little added pressure for them.
Marathon struggled in that game, actually, for quite a while.
That's what I was going to mention. For the start of that game, it wasn't an easy one. Assumption usually comes at you and plays you very physical. And but again, they took care of business because you don't want to dump that one. Newman did everything they had to do against Stratford. When I was finally able to see part of the game that night, it was over right away when I saw part from halftime on, and it was over when I got there.
The gap was a little surprising, actually. Newman to go into Stratford and really just take those Tigers to the woodshed very quickly.
Right. You thought that one would be a little tighter, especially over on Stratford's court. Stratford team seems to rise to the occasion, even when the talent pool is a little bit different. Auburndale sent a message against Edgar at the end of there with a good 20-point win, and that kind of is how the Merriwood rounded out for the season. I again, bringing that point up with that last game with Mosinee and Lakeland, it runs a good argument because I think you want to get it in. It takes away from Mosinee's longer break to the next round of the playoffs for Friday, which is a good idea but again, you run a game that everything's already been determined. So you run a game of injuries that teams might not want to see. So, what would you do?
The only thing that would have made it even more interesting is if they would have drawn each other in that bracket.
Right, yeah, to see each other that next time right away.
Yeah.
But,
I think the point I would make is you want to play every game because you're limited as a high school athlete where 98% of these players, they don't go on to play college basketball or play anything after that. You want to give them all the opportunities they can, even if you feel like, hey, it does not affect either conference positioning or seeding. Then you look at it differently. Then you get some of your younger guys. I mean, there's different ways you can go about it, but you got to play the game, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, just asking your opinion, but I agree with you 100% because it's right for the kids to get in the games that they're supposed to get, and you can't take away. And I think for Mosinee, even though, anytime you could step outside and trip on the sidewalk, so there's risk of injury anywhere you go. But my point,
especially at my age, I'm noticing that.
Yeah. Well, my point being to that is that they did a good job of getting to what the players are probably used to, where it is only a couple practices in a game here from here on out, and it has been in the last couple months with the way the seasons roll around, where teams are finishing up their conference schedule. Again, Great Northern. It fell suit to, Medford went and played against West, which you've already talked about. But for Pines and Mosinee, they won games as being the higher teams in the conference and finished their seasons out with respective wins to own that second and third spot.
Let's look at the brackets. Let's start with Division I. There were two games last night in Sectional 1 where our area teams are involved. Wisconsin Rapids, number 17 seed, made a rather long trip to Oshkosh West, the number 16 seed. And Oshkosh West really rolled the Red Raiders 71-42. Obviously, it's a tough way to end the season, a long trip to Oshkosh for that Tuesday night game for Coach Witter and his team.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever, no matter how Coach Witter's been coaching a long time, and the coaches coach because they love the kids, they love the battle, the competition of high school athletics. We could list 10 reasons why they do it, and I don't think it's any easier, no matter if you're the number one seed and your times come up, right, or you're more in the bottom of that bracket. It's hard to see it finish, and you want to continue to go. I think to Coach Lemon's perspective for these seniors, this is it for a lot of them, and they want to get their just dues and finish out that season as strong as they can. So obviously, tougher on the scoreboard and tougher on the road trip too of having to go over there.
Wausau West edged Eau Claire North 56-54. Warriors jumped out to a 26-10 lead early. Eau Claire North came back behind some good three-point shooting. Wausau West had 4 players in double digits. Becca Teskey 15, Brett Butala 13, Griffin Lang 12, and Cole Nelson 11. Game came down to a final 3-point field goal, a wide open look for North on the right wing that fortunately for the Warriors banged off the iron. But West does get the win and earns a trip to Hudson.
And that's what it is about. Sometimes you get that argument. It doesn't always have to be pretty. No, just finish it out. And any team that makes a run or goes a little farther than they should, or whatever their ending point is, you got to look back on it and say there's always been a little bit of luck involved, and there's always been some things that just went our way, and that's what you want. So that last 3-point shot doesn't fall, and now the Warriors get to play another game.
Let's look at the games on Friday, and actually there's regionals Friday and then Saturday. Top half of the bracket, number 1 Eau Claire Memorial against number 16 Oshkosh West. Number 9 Chippewa Falls against number 8 Superior. Those 2 winners will then meet in the regional final on Saturday. Marshfield, number 5 seed. They will host the Lightning of Appleton North, the number 12 seed. A win for Marshfield will put them in the regional final against either number 4 Hortonville or number 13 Holman. Bottom of the bracket, number 14 seeded Appleton West goes to number 3 Oshkosh North. Winner takes on either number 11 Stevens Point, who travel to number 6 Neenah on Friday. And then, of course, DC Everest is home on Friday, number 7 seed against number 10 Appleton East. Winner of that one will take on the winner of the game between West and Hudson. West number 15 seed, Hudson number 2 seed. As you look at that bracket, especially their area teams, what do you see?
Well, we talked to Coach Crowell last week, and was that last week just? These weeks are starting to run together. Was that just last week? I think so.
I think so, too.
But he talked about, the seating being a little tougher on them, but, you can't. He said good things about the computer. So they were ready to take on that battle. I think it's a mindset that the coaches have to put in the players' heads that doesn't matter if we're at home, doesn't matter if we're on the road. It's still a basketball game that we got to go play, and you got to execute. You got to execute better than the other team does. So I think they're up for the challenge. I think that'll be an interest. Not that it's an easy game, but it'll be an interesting one to see if the kids are tested for that. I would love, like you said when we were talking, I can't remember if it was off air on there, to see, Coach Lemon's, they get the W with West, and then you get back to
that was off air.
You get back to the back.
No, that'd be great if West
the court with Everest, and they upset. And you see some of the, because again, it's all about, everybody has the conferences they're heavily involved in, and they're rooting for those teams. And then as a Central Wisconsin area, you have those teams that you want to see show props to the area that we have some very good high school, which we do have some very good high school basketball here. So I'd love to see some of the area teams make it in there. Not that any of those roads are any easier, because when they slide over to those teams in the Fox Valley area, things get a lot more challenging, but I think they're up for that.
And I think the Marshfield potential game at Hortonville Saturday could be a very interesting game of 5 versus 4. I think Marshfield has the capability of going over there in a tough venue and winning that game.
Well, and I think it's just equally important when not even picking any of these teams specifically, but on the little bit of rest time you get. It's a good thing. You get rest because you get one last game. But is that a good or bad thing to go back into practice again? You get that. Is that extra prep time suit you well for that next game to get up where another team has to play and is a little bit more of that game ready, I guess.
Looking at Division II, the teams from our area involved in sectional number 1, the bottom half of the bracket. Last night, Rhinelander advanced to number 8 seed, beat number 9 seeded Ashland 73-49. They move on to take on the number 1 seed Fox Valley Lutheran on Friday night. Lakeland, number 5 seed, who lost a regular season game to Mosinee last night, but they will travel to number 4 New London on Friday. So the winners of those two games, Fox Valley Lutheran against Rhinelander and Lakeland versus New London, will meet in the regional final Saturday. Bottom of the bracket, Merrill. They knocked off Antigo by a score of 70-49 last night. Number 6 Blue Jays over the number 11 Red Robins. So number 6 Merrill at number 3 Mosinee for the second straight year Friday night. The winner of that game will move on to face either Wausau East or Shawano. The number 7 seeded Lumberjacks rolled past number 10 Wapaka last night, 68-53. Jaden Garrett 17. Jesse Knapp-Gezik had 15 for the Jacks. So again, East heading to Shawano on Friday night.
Well, and I since with family members on the East team watching that game a little bit, East was, they played very aggressively. They were out and running against that team. They handled Wapaka. They did what they needed to do to control the basketball game through their intensity, their athleticism, and really moved. Shawano's a higher seed. You got to go over there and play. But again, I'm sure they're gonna be up for the challenge, and Coach Garrett will have them ready.
And again, for East, they've been challenged in a big league. I think that's again for a Division II team like East, even if their seeding is a little bit lower, they've been in gyms like they're going to face on Friday night.
Yep, they've been in the big atmosphere. They've played some very good. Valley has good basketball teams. They played some very good teams in that. As far as
Mosinee and Merrill,
Mosinee and Merrill, I think it just presents an interest. I mean, these teams have a history. They run into each other.
They play during the regular season as well.
Yep. So I think that's going to be a good game. Sometimes I think at this point, it's the playoffs. And if you want to keep playing, the home court advantage is thrown out the door, because typically, especially when they're this close, Merrill's going to bring just as many fans as that building on the other side of the gym, and they're going to separate out the student sections and all that stuff. So sometimes I don't know how familiar that helps you be. I think that's an interesting one, though, because we got local familiarity with those teams, and
the pressure's on Mosinee. Yeah. I mean, after last year, they were supposed to make a deep run last year, and they lost that game to Merrill. First playoff game for them last year. Boy, that they don't want to lose that first playoff game again.
No, I think that anxiety and that element of we're not going to repeat this is going to be there, which can either could put added pressure on them,
or could put more focus on.
Exactly. I was just going to say it could go either way, and I think that for Mosinee, they have good guard play. They have the big guy in Stoffel, so they're going to look prime and ready, and they're not going to want to happen. And for Merrill, they have some seniors there that have been there and worked hard for Coach Pieper and want to push that through and not see their season end. I think that's going to be a big game and a fun environment.
It's also interesting when the Valley and the GNC meet. I think there is a rivalry between those leagues here in North Central Wisconsin, and I think the GNC probably feels like, at least at the top, that they are the better conference this year.
Well, and they have. How many times have we seen them cross over and match? I mean, Lakeland plays East, Medford just played West, so there's a lot of those games in there, and I think the Valley just being with bigger schools seems to get like a little bit more representation, a little bit more props.
Yeah, because we always start with the Valley.
Well, that's why I think the Great Northerns, always are fighting for. They're a very good conference, and if you're in there, you understand that, and if you've analyzed them, you know that they're good. But it just always seems like they're still fighting for that respect of this overall aura that they're no slouches by any means.
Division 3, speaking of the GNC, Northern Pines, number 3 seed. They got a first-round bye. They take on number 6 Wrightstown on Friday. Wrightstown last night eliminated Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, the number 11 seed, 74-53. Mason Everton, 14 points. Jet Rogowski and Michael Miller, 12 for the Chargers as they finished their season. With a win over Wrightstown Friday, the Pines Eagles will take on either number 7 Amherst or number 2 Little Chute on Saturday.
Yeah, I think
likely on the road at Little Chute.
Right, and I think Pines is again they're with that senior laden group that they have. They're kind of primed for this. This is the moment you've been waiting for. These kids have been logged a lot of basketball. They've done it together. They've got multiple double-digit scores on that team. It's just I always find it funny how teams go in cycles because just a couple of years ago we were talking about Pines having to go fight through Wrightstown.
Yep.
And now it's the exact opposite where Wrightstown's going to want to fight through Pines. But I think it'd be interesting to see how far this team makes it because I think they've got a lot of key elements and seniors with a last game and a multitude of them is a very dangerous bunch of ingredients to try to get them off the court. They will dogfight it till the end, I'm pretty sure.
Division 4, Marathon, number 1 seed in the bracket. They will take on number 9 seeded Westfield on Friday. Westfield survived at number 8 Spencer in overtime last night. The winner of that one will move on to take on either number 5 Necedah or number 4 Stratford. Stratford will host the game on Friday. Tigers, impressive, 66-26 victors over Abbotsford last night. Brady Schmidt led 4 players in double figures with 15 points. Bottom of the bracket, number 3 seed Wyowega Fremont will host number 6 seeded Edgar on Friday. Edgar survived number 11 Nakusa in overtime at Edgar last night, 59-52. Winner of Wyowega against Edgar will take on either number 2 seeded Auburndale, who will play host to number 7 Princeton Green Lake, who defeated Montello 63-46. So you got some of the big names of the Merriwood South, Marathon, Stratford, Edgar, and Auburndale, all part of that regional semifinal and final coming up over the weekend. It's interesting. There's 4 games involved Friday, and there's 4 teams, but they don't play each other yet. And there's that potential, if they all win, to play each other in 2 regional finals on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, as you were reading all that, that's exactly what I was looking for. If they win, you've got the whole regional final, and 2 of those games is all Merriwood teams. And I Marathon's hosting. They should take care of Westfield. Auburndale's hosting again. Should take care of Princeton Green Lake. Stratford, do they host Necedah? And I think within their end, does Edgar has to go on the road, or Edgar's on the road at Wyowega. And I think that, those teams are all because here's another example of where the conferences, they just wail on each other. And they're physically grounded and battle tested in their conference schedules and in most of the weeks that they play because they also put in strong non-conference games. So I think this is one where the fierceness of your conference is going to hold through. And even looking at some close scores that I've seen Wyowega play in, I think Edgar can go on the road and get that one. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think at the same time, holding out hopes that there will be 4 teams represented on those Saturday games.
And Division 5, last night, Newman Catholic held the reins down. No double-figure scores for the Cardinals. I don't think we've seen that in a long time. And they still defeated number 16 seeded Tri-County 56-24. Up next, another Merriwood Conference South team, number 9 seeded Assumption. Assumption avenged a loss in the regular season to Wild Rose and beat number 8 Wild Rose in Wild Rose 60-47. JT Schaefer 19, Ryan Shaw 17. The winner of the Newman Assumption game will move on to play Saturday against the winner of Columbus Catholic, number 4 seed, and number 5 Alman Bancroft. Alman Bancroft beat Boulder 89-35. Columbus eliminated Wisconsin Valley Lutheran by a score of 74-35. Bottom of the bracket, number 3 Athens will take on number 6 Port Edwards. Athens last night defeated Rosholt 74-39. Port was a winner over 11th seeded Tigerton, 76-43. And then the only non-chalk team was Marion. Marion went on the road, defeated Northern Lutheran last night, the number 7 seed, 69-51. They will travel to Pacelli on Friday. The number 2 seed of Pacelli Cardinals defeated Gresham 83-35.
Well, I guess looking at the Newman game, and I was fortunate enough to be in a meeting for some youth basketball with Coach Walvogel, and one of the things he said and reminded about that game is, like, when scores have gotten out of hand on things, I've been there before. It's happened when I've worked with some of the teams that I've had in my previous coaching experiences. So, kudos to him, because it's in a tough spot, because you want these kids to be playing, logging their game minutes, but at the same time, not out there to embarrass anybody, and it shows up in the score, it shows up in the minutes that some of those seniors logged. Always tough playoff time. Like we were even talking with the Merriwood just now in Division 4. You want to get away from the teams that you've seen all year long, because you know each other so well, and it's like who's going to show up that night to execute to the best of their ability. And so for Newman, they're at home. It's a great environment in Newman Catholic's gym, and bringing over Assumption, who looks through some of the scores to be improved this year and be better. And it's it's the third time facing somebody, so it's going to be that familiarity. So Friday we'll see what happens there. For Athens, I would expect that they got a little not an easy road ever, but they want to punch through and get back to where they were last year, which means they're going to have to go through Newman to do that eventually, I think, in that bracket, right?
And actually, over the weekend, probably the most, I think, intriguing matchup would be a Newman versus Columbus Catholic game on Saturday, because Columbus was the number 1 ranked team in the state at the start of the year, had some injury issues, had some issues in wins and losses. Number 4 seed, that could still be a big game at Newman Catholic on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell, because I don't think Allman's going to be any pushover, just looking at some of those scores, and they've done well in the conference at their end. But I just think, Columbus Catholic, between, the experience that Coach Konitsky provides for them, and the amount of, they have some handful of those players back from last year that were very good, and sometimes when you go through some injury and some fight, some other guys have to step up, and if you can get all that back together before the end of the season rolls around, that can put you in a much better spot. So I think Saturday night at Newman in the gym, provided both those, I don't want to jinx anybody, but both those teams are there, that's going to be a fun fight to see and a fun game to see for Division 5.
Have to take a quick break. Later on, we'll talk about the sectionals coming up in girls high school basketball. But coming up next, we will talk to the senior from Merrill High School, Braden Pieper. He's coming up next here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. And welcome back. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. With Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes, and another big week. Last week we had 3 guests. This week we have 3 guests as well. This week 2 student-athlete guests. In the first hour, we talked to Julianna Ouimette from Lakeland Union High School and their girls basketball team. And right now we're very happy to welcome from the Merrill High School Blue Jays, senior guard Braden Pieper. And Braden, first of all, thanks for making the trek up here to join us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and it's a very exciting time of year. Obviously, the playoffs began for you and your teammates last night against the Antigo Red Robins, won by 21 points. Basically, how do you feel like your team played last night against Antigo to get the playoffs underway?
I think we played really well. We brought energy, and I think we played. We had a good game plan. I think we could have won by more. We could have played better, but I think overall we played really well.
Also, wish you congratulations. Today, the Wisconsin Valley Conference put out their all-conference team. You earned all-conference second team award. How do you look at that? Is that something that, going in, obviously it's a team game, but at the same time, it must be nice because the coaches vote on it.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's a special aspect to it.
It's always cool seeing, all the coaches, what they really think about me, and I get my respect. And I think a lot more players on my team could have got more recognition too, but it's always nice getting that recognition from all the coaches in the conference as well.
Looking at the Valley, I mean...
Turn the microphone to it.
On?
No, it's on, but your microphone's pointing in the wrong direction.
It's close enough.
All right.
Anyways, looking at the Valley and you've logged a lot of time against these teams and all the, the varsity experience that you have and things like that. I guess it doesn't get any easier, right? You get these rivalries, these competitive atmospheres. What do you overall, your opinion of the Valley now that you've gotten to observe it and playing it for so many years?
This year especially, I really like the Valley. I think like the team that's gonna bring it 100% the full game, have a full game. I think that team will have a better. I don't know how to say, like, they'll win the game probably. Like, I think the team that will bring it for the full game has a better chance of winning.
That was one of the interesting things about the Valley this season. There were so many times where a team the first time around would win on the road, and then the other side would come into the other team's gym. It felt like, especially in that group beyond Marshfield and DC Everest, it felt like all those other teams were kind of battling, and it was like a puzzle where one team would go up a little bit, one team would go down. It really felt like every night, like you said, if you didn't have your best game, it didn't matter where you were playing, you were going to lose the game. Or if you had the game, it didn't matter if you were on the road, you were going to win the game.
Like when East played us at home, we lost by like 16. And then we played them at home, and we won on a game-winning shot by Troy Moots.
Yeah, and you won at West, and then they won at Merrill.
Yeah.
So it's like really very, very interesting this year.
Have you, some of the, I'm assuming since, you've been in youth programs, you get to know a lot of these players and these teams and things like that. Do you have over the years, do you have a team that's a favorite rivalry you always look forward to playing? Or?
I always like playing Wausau East because I always play with a lot of them in AAU, like Caden Worth, Jack Barthels, Jack Cayley. I love playing East. It's fun.
You mentioned the fact that you thought that some of your teammates also deserved recognition in terms of the all-conference. Obviously, as a senior, you're probably one of the kids that are considered leaders. Who else on your team has been instrumental in the success that your team has been able to have?
Troy Moots, he's a very good offensively. He's very hard to stop when he's driving. EJ Wikes, he's great defensive player, probably our best defensive player. He always brings energy. Tyson Glish, he's a rebound machine. I think he got snubbed from all conference. And Carter Body, he's a great shooter, great handler, and he's also a great defender as well. And it's great having Corey Page, Croy Waller, and Sam Ryman coming off the benches for us as well.
And just looking at your team right now, you went and you guys handled Anago well in the first round of playoffs. You got like you said, off air, I think a fun atmosphere going into Mosinee, with just going to be a cool thing on Friday night for you guys. Right now, if you had to kind of look at your team, it's not without giving away a lot of stuff. What do you think you guys are doing really well on? Like, hey, this is why we're dangerous. This is why it's going to be a little bit of fun. And you got one more night of practice. Anything like, hey, we gotta tighten up a little bit to be ready, or what we need to make sure we do from the first time around to the other time, because Mosinee well, I'm assuming by now. So I guess one thing you think, hey, we better really be on point with this, and something like, hey, they better watch out for this because we do a good job of it.
I think we gotta bring a lot of energy. We gotta slow down Jersley. He's pretty much he controls like everything offensively for Mosinee. We got to get boards, and we just got to stop their transition. We got to get back on transition defense and stop them.
Again, we're talking to Braden Pieper from Merrill High School and the Merrill High School Blue Jay boys basketball team here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. We'll get back to basketball in just a bit, but you are a multi-sport athlete. In fact, kind of a multi-sport athlete. What other sports do you play?
I play football and baseball as well.
So with football, basketball, and baseball, obviously you go fall, winter, and spring. Are you able to carry any sort of athletic momentum from season to season? Say things go well during the football season. Are you able to carry that to basketball, and likewise from basketball into baseball? Is it something that is kind of part of the life that you're just going to carry from one sport to the other?
Yeah, I think we had a great football season compared to last year and the years before. And I think we carried that pretty well into basketball. And I had probably the most fun I've ever had playing football this year. And I can say the same about basketball this year as well.
I was just going to ask a tough question, but any one of those your favorite? Or I know sometimes people are like, I can't pick. It's just whatever I'm in season. Other people are like, I really like this, and no coach or no other player, nobody can hold anything against you here. So you got any one of those your favorite?
I would say it's between basketball or football. I don't have a favorite though.
Okay. what is it about football that you like, and what is it about basketball that you like? Because they're two different games. I mean, they're obviously very much different in terms of what the skills that you're going to need to use. What is it about football first that draws you to the game, and then what is it about basketball that draws you in?
I don't know. I just like going up, catching the ball. Just like you can make a lot of highlights in football. It's just really fun. I like football a lot.
Are you hoping to continue to be athletically inclined in college? Are you hoping to continue to play sports? And if so, what sport would you like to continue at the college level?
I'm not positive yet, but I'm definitely going to play either football or basketball next year in college. I'm not sure yet.
Have you had a decision yet on where you're going to go to school? Or have any ideas where you might be heading?
Not yet.
Do you have, do you have a favorite class? Right now,
school-wise?
Yeah, that's the subject area.
Probably. I'm in a lot of like business classes. I like business classes.
And that's asking that question based on then once you decide where you go, do you have a decision? Not a decision, but maybe an interest in going into something with business, economics, something like that, or is it some
I'm gonna go to college. I want to go to college to be a physical education teacher, teacher.
When you're away from all these sports, obviously you're very busy with your sports, and then of course you got school. What do you like to do to kind of get away from it all?
I like hanging out with my friends, going to the gym, playing video games.
Boy, it seems like we get that answer almost every week.
Then we got to know what's the video game of choice?
2K.
There you go.
Again, we're talking to Braden Pieper from the Merrill Blue Jays here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Slightly back again, I think you indicated you're a wide receiver in football, correct? Mm-hmm. And in baseball, when you get to baseball this spring, what position do you play?
Second base.
And I find even broadcasting that after a long winter indoors, it's nice to be outside. Is that one of the best things about spring sports?
Yes. It's just nice. I hate when it's cold, though.
And it tends to be cold for the first month of the season. Yeah. I'll say that much. Turning back to basketball as we get towards the end of the season, hopefully for a couple of more weeks at least, for you and your teammates. But one of the things that we were talking about with our coach guest earlier was about the dynamic of playing for your dad. What's the best part of playing for your dad, and maybe what's the hardest part of playing for your dad?
The hardest part is definitely he definitely takes it the most hard on me. But the good thing is I know that I have a coach that believes in me and trusts me. And I love that I know that.
And I guess looking ahead a little bit, you guys obviously, like we said before, you advanced past Anago. You got Mosinee on Friday night. What is it hard? You know what to expect. Is it hard going in those games with it's going to be a noisy gym.
Yeah.
There's going to be people as much yelling for you guys as yelling probably at you guys, right? Does that ever come into play in your head, or do you just once you get into warm-ups, you just get in a zone? I mean, what's the preparation for yourself that you're going to find that happy spot to focus totally on the game? Because I think that's difficult. There's a lot of things at stake. There's always pressure there.
I kind of just when I'm locked in, I just kind of zone in on the game. I don't really pay attention to all the noise, but I like it a lot. It just I don't know how to explain it.
What so far has been your basketball highlight of your high school career? What is maybe the memory or the moment that may have stuck with you as you get close to the end of your senior year?
Probably when I was playing in the Dells, and it was earlier this year, and it was the last play of the game. We drew up a play, and I drove, and I passed it to Troy Moose, and he had the game-winning shot. That was fun. Also,
along maybe the same lines, a different kind of way, since you started as a varsity player up to this point, what is the area that you've most improved in? What's the biggest difference in your game from the start of your varsity basketball career up to this point?
Probably just letting the game come to me, not forcing a lot.
What do you think, as you, whenever the season ends and you're onto your spring sport, but then graduation's right around the corner, basically. What do you think you'll miss most about just your time in high school athletics? What's the biggest thing you'll carry with you, or the thing you enjoyed the most that you'll miss?
Probably all the rivals, all the relationships I had in high school with my teammates and all that.
And finally, should we ask the question for our seniors?
Yeah, we always like to ask just looking back at your time spent in high school athletics, what somebody, a freshman comes in, and what advice do you want to give? What would you give them so that they could make the most of their high school career? What that either worked for you? What advice would you give them that this will be time well spent in high school if you can do this?
Just like, don't take time for granted, because like time flies. Like, I still can't believe I'm graduating this year. It's crazy to me.
Braden Pieper, again, senior for the Merrill Blue Jays, getting set for a massive game over in Mosinee on Friday night in a Division II regional semifinal. Thank you for coming by, and congratulations on the success during the course of your multi-sport athletic career at Merrill.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, Braden Pieper joining us here on the Big High School Sports Show. We're going to take a quick timeout, come back, and talk about what to expect on the girls' side with the sectionals coming up starting tomorrow night. So some big games tomorrow. We'll talk about that coming up next. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. With Jeff Gress, I am Chad Holmes. And again, 3 interviews back-to-back weeks. Good thing. I mean, hopefully we can keep doing this. We're trying to get as many folks on as possible. Always great to get the perspective of both student athletes and coaches.
Well, I hope if anything too, it's a nice selling point of why you should get out there and support these teams and go watch them live in the gym. It's cool to see, and they're just like everybody else, but they're working hard to present what they can do out on the basketball floor. So go support them.
Let's talk about what's been going on in the girls basketball playoffs. So last weekend was the regional round, Division I. In the sectional one, where most of our area teams are involved, on Friday night, Neenah, the number 1 seed, eliminated Wisconsin Rapids, number 16 seeded, 81-36. Allie Zabel, UConn recruit for Neenah, outstanding basketball player. She had 29 points, including 7 of 10 from behind the arc. Stevens Point, number 8 seed. We knew that the Panthers may have been a little underseeded, facing number 9 seeded Wausau West, and they came out and did a great job and knocked off the 9 seed by a score of 58-46 on Friday. Emma Josie, 17 points. Brittany Beatles, 12 for the Panthers. And then in the regional final on Saturday, Stevens Point had that tough trip to number 1 Neenah, and Neenah eliminated the Panthers 65-44. Still an outstanding season for Stevens Point, the Wisconsin Valley Conference champions. Also, bottom half of the bracket, number 6 seeded Marshfield on Friday night in the regional semifinal. They played number 11 Holman, and Marshfield was dominant, 65-41 winners in that game. Ashley Grankovich had 20, Ayana Busam had 15. And then they advanced to take on number 3 seeded Hortonville. And Hortonville, I think, was underseeded. I think they were number 2. I think the computers in this case were not correct. And Marshfield had to go to Hortonville, and led by a point at halftime. Marshfield led 28-27 at the intermission, but then Hortonville took control, winning 61-43. Grant Griffiths had 14 points. Danny Minsas, 11. The big difference in that game was 3-point field goals. Hortonville was 10 of 21 behind the arc. Marshfield just 3 of 15. And then finally in the bottom of the bracket, talk about a couple of thrillers for Wausau West. Number 7 seeded Warriors on Friday of last week. They trailed by 16 points in the second half at home against number 10 Appleton East. Warriors came back, able to pull out a win in overtime, 73-70, after Appleton East hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer to force OT. Lexi White was massive in the comeback, 25 points. Kelly Cray had a huge night as well, 19 points and 15 boards for the Warriors. And the Warriors able to win despite being outshot from three-point land. 13 threes made by Appleton East, just 2 threes made by Wausau West. And then on Saturday in the regional final, the Warriors able to knock off Superior 54-51. Again, a double-digit deficit in the second half. This time 11 points. Molly Anderson was huge for the Warriors, 16 points and 10 rebounds as Wausau West earns a regional title and a trip to Stevens Point tomorrow night to take on number 3 seeded Hortonville in a game that we will have tomorrow night at 6:40 right here on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230. The other sectional semifinal in Section 1, Neenah, number 1 seed against number 5 Eau Claire Memorial. So I threw it all out there. What do you want to say?
Well, it's again difficult when you're in Central Wisconsin. We're focused on these teams, and they're doing well in the Valley, and they're doing well in some of their they're challenging themselves in their non-conference games. But it still shows that Fox Valley area is so strong in basketball with Neenah, Hortonville over there. Those teams, I guess Spash, Marshfield, little tougher roads. In terms of how the brackets were set. But for West, I mean, to come back and being down double digits and claw your way back and pull those games out, that's a big deal. And they're going to be tested right away over at Spash against Hortonville on Thursday. And those are, they're playing well. They have kind of what we talk about sometimes where players are stepping up at they've been solid all year, but they're also stepping, White's a senior. This is it. So she's going on a tear. Cray's playing better. So showing up on those numbers and doing well and they're getting at full strength. So I think for West, two quality wins, 2 tight ones, it really makes you battle tested. And I think it's a big deal to get that regional crown out of that because those were games they really had to fight for and earn. And like I said, the other teams just ran in. Hortonville and Neenah are 2 very good basketball teams. Outstanding.
And Hortonville's going to be a handful tomorrow night. Again, and I talked to Tom Weinkoff about this on Saturday in Superior. Wausau West is not a 3-point shooting team. It's just not. And that's not where they're successful. They have a couple of good bigs. They got some good guards. I mean, Lexi White can do it all between shooting and going inside, but not a 3-point shooter. And they were able to, it's almost like analytically they're behind to start the game.
Right.
And I think that's going to be something that they cannot let Hortonville have a 30-point edge in 3-point field goals.
Right. If you don't, if
you don't make them, you better make sure they don't make them either.
Yeah, and it better be if that's the type of style they're going to play. Obviously, you're going to want to contest that and try to make it one and done. So you're going to want to hit the boards heavy off some of those wrong rebounds if their firepower comes from that 3-point land. But you really want to contest those shooters. You got to have hands up and people hanging on each other and being right there in their grill to make it a mindset that they're not going to get any easy looks.
Division 2, Sectional 1, where most of the teams from our area are participating. Last Friday in a regional semifinal, Rhinelander gave number 1 seed New London a pretty tight game for a half. It was a 4-point game at halftime. The number 8 seeded Hodags then fell to the number 1 seeded Bulldogs of New London, 62-49. Ava Lamers had 19 points for the Hodags. Lily Trader added 17 for Rhinelander. Also in that part of the bracket, number 4 seeded Mosinee in a thriller edged number 5 seeded Shawano, 60-59, a massive game for Taylor Jershele. She had 32 points. Britt Fitzgerald added 17 for Mosinee. And then on Saturday in the regional final, Mosinee, the number 4 seed, fell at number 1 seeded New London, 61-42. Jershele had 15 points in that game. Bottom of the bracket, number 3 seeded Merrill knocked off number 6 seeded Antigo on Friday, 56-32. Number 10 seeded Wausau East fell at number 2 seeded Lakeland by a score of 89-38. Christina Ouimette in that game, as we heard from her sister, she was touting what Christina did in that game. She had 35 points and 14 rebounds. Julianna had a nice night as well with 22 points and 10 assists. And Sailor Timmerman sometimes gets overshadowed, but she's a big for Lakeland who's outstanding. Double-double, 13 points and 12 rebounds. And then on Saturday, Lakeland again dominant. The number 2 seeded T-Birds defeated number 3 seeded Merrill 66-25. For the Thunderbirds, Christina Ouimette had 18 points. Lily Fortier also had doubles, I think 15 points as well for the Lakeland T-Birds. And Elena Pozorski had 8 points to lead the way for Merrill. So Lakeland tomorrow night in Antigo takes on number 1 seeded New London. And the other sectional semifinal has a number 1 seed Menominee against number 7 seeded Toma.
Well, I think for Lakeland, it's kind of the big, they're just kind of chugging along. They're dropping all these other teams that, they knocked Merrill out, knocked East out. Then they get, eventually with those wins in the regional crown, they're sliding over and playing, in a gym they're familiar with. They get to go back to Anago, who's one of the teams in the conference. So I think, just hearing a little bit of the interview with Julianna on the drive over here was that they know where they want to get to. They have this eye on the prize, so to speak, and want to get back to that spot. So they're focused and ready to go, and it's showing up in those scores. I think New London will give them it'll be a good matchup. But it's I think Lakeland's primed, ready to go, and putting up, you got multiple players that are hurting you in multiple ways. Even your third leading scorer is coming up with a double-double sometimes. So I think that's going to be a big deal on these other teams looking to, go after them and shut them down.
Division 4, no teams in our area right now in D3. So D4, Phillips continues to chug. Outstanding campaign in the Merriwood North. Phillips on Friday knocked off number 9 seeded Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser 71-30. Mattia Eckert led 4 players in double figures with 27 points. And then on Saturday, Phillips won their regional championship, defeating Ladysmith 65-44. So now Phillips, number 1 seed, takes on number 3 seeded Colfax at Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser tomorrow. The bottom half of the bracket, Neillsville, always a fantastic girls basketball program, number 1 seed in their part of the bracket, takes on number 2 Fall Creek. So for Phillips, they put themselves in position, but it's not going to be easy, especially when you see Neillsville as a potential sectional final opponent.
Well, Phillips is, let me give you the right. Phillips is 22-3. I don't think Neillsville lost yet. I think 26-0. I think.
Yep.
I mean, so you're talking these teams with just these stellar records, and Neillsville has always been just a powerhouse in girls basketball for that level, and Phillips has been creeping in there and being very successful over the last couple seasons. So I always find it funny too that you can end up back where they beat Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser in one of the earlier games, and that game is against Colfax. I think is going back there, right?
Yep.
So right back in the same gym for the sectional semi.
Well, they won at home against Chautauqua. So
sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Well, similar. Yeah, sorry, I goofed that one up.
But they have some good feelings about Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser.
Right. Either way, good point.
Also in D4. Auburndale, they knocked off Marathon in the regional semifinal Friday by a score of 56-37. Anna Maria Aui, 16 points. Gracie Krings, 15 for the Eagles. Ashley Packatong finished off a terrific season for Marathon with 17 points. And then Auburndale faced a very tough St. Mary Catholic team on Saturday in the regional final. And St. Mary Catholic eliminated Auburndale 77-56. Aui had 23 points. Ashlyn Grimm, 20 for Auburndale. Also in that bracket, number 3 seeded Wittenberg-Bernewood. They defeated Stratford on Friday by a score of 53-36. Reese Rogowski had 14 points in that game. And then Whitburn lost to an always tough Westfield squad at Westfield on Saturday by a score of 60-35. And Westfield did a great job against the big 2 for Whitburn. Rogowski only had 6 points and Rory Salveson 9 in that game. But Wittenberg-Bernewood finished off a very good season.
And I mean, those. It's tough to see some of those D4 teams when they're playing well in the Merriwood South and lose those games and careers come to an end. And but again, the shows the higher you're going in these playoffs, the next game you get is always more challenging. And there's another good team either rolling into your gym if you get to face them there, or you're going on the road to face them at their gym. So for Auburndale Marathon, hate to see and Stratford, their season's ended, but some tough games even for Wittenberg. When's the last time we've talked and you've said Ragnowski and Selveson didn't score double digits?
Right.
They had 15 combined.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's obviously it shows how good that Westfield team is.
And finally in Division 5, got a couple of Merriwood South teams that are getting set to meet tomorrow night in what should be a fantastic sectional semifinal. The number 1 seed is Assumption. The number 2 seed is Edgar. To get there, Assumption in the regional semis, they got past Pacelli, the number 9 seed, 60-39. And then on Saturday in the regional final, beat number 4 seeded Iola Scandinavia by a score of 67-55. And for Edgar to get there, they first beat Newman Catholic by a score of 66-38. And then faced off against Athens. And boy, that was a great matchup. Athens had an early lead, but Edgar came back and was able to win 56-47. Reagan Borkart had a big night, 21 points and 13 rebounds. Addison Levicka had 16 points for Athens, who finishes off a fantastic season themselves. But it will be Assumption and Edgar in Marshfield tomorrow night. The bottom half of the bracket has Wabeno Leona taking on Sevastopol.
Well, and I think you kind of got what you got 1 and 2 in the Merriwood again to going at each other in the sectional semifinals. So I think again, kudos, to Edgar. They had some big wins. They had to beat Newman a third time when they played tight in those 2 games. Then they had to turn around and beat Athens, who had a lot of success. One, tied for the Merriwood North with Phillips, and Borchard continues to put up those high, almost 20 points a game, and you got Assumption that's just been steady all year long. So I think that's going to be a war.
It feels like to me Edgar is peaking because ever since that game when they went over to Phillips and earned a road win, and that occurred right after we had Coach McCarty on the show. So I think there is a correlation
it's a gem
there.
in that, huh?
Yeah, I think when Coach McCarty came on the program, that started this great run for Edgar. But it does feel like Edgar is playing some great basketball. But you got Assumption, who has been through this so many times before. I mean, they're just talented. They got a lot of young players, but those young players have been through it before.
Yeah. I mean, Assumption, well coached, 24-3 overall, won the Merriwood South and kept teams at bay. And I think it just presents itself for an interesting matchup. They both have athletic players. They both have experienced players. Again, you got the debate. Do you throw a wrinkle in there right now, or do you just keep playing your game and use the success that's got you there? Because there's twofold on those two coaches' sides too. I think most coaches lean to use what's got them there, and the athletes are going to have a little control of that. So I think it's just neat to see some local teams in the area doing that, and the pathways that got them there. I think obviously Edgar's had a little bit stronger run to get there, and like you said, you think they're peaking. So.
Real quickly, I want to remind people what to expect here on Bull Falls Radio the next few days. Tomorrow, 12 noon, Mosinee hockey against Oregon in a Division II state semifinal. Again, 12 noon pregame here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 12:30 online, Alexa, mobile apps. You know the drill. Then tomorrow night, Wausau West against Hortonville, 6:40 airtime. Friday night, 6:40 airtime, Wausau West at Hudson, live on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 12:30, live on bullfallsradio.com, and the Sports 2 stream coming up on Friday night. We'll have the Marathon boys basketball team in a Division IV regional semifinal as the Red Raiders hosting Westfield. And then on Saturday at 9:30 a.m., it could be Mosinee hockey in the state championship game, 9:10 pregame. It could be Wausau West girls in a sectional final, 1:40 airtime on Saturday, and then a pair of games as well in boys basketball regional finals on Saturday night. So basically, tune in the next 3 days right here on Bull Falls Radio for a lot of high school playoff action.
Well, and exactly the way you want to see it. You want to see these gyms packed. People should come out and watch these teams. There's a lot of, I was going to ask you what your favorite game is, and I can't even come down to one. There's a lot of good games coming up here with some of our teams that are left in the local area for boys and girls basketball.
Well, thank you for showing up eventually, and we'll talk to you next week.
I made it here. Appreciate you having me.
I'm Chad Holmes. He's Jeff Gress. Thanks again for joining us on Bull Falls Radio 98.9.